Okay, hi everyone. I think we'll get started and you can see my screen. We're sharing okay. So welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. Welcome visitors. One of our visitors you see is Stephen Pellerin. We'll hear from him in a second. But I don't think we have other visitors, but I don't see any new faces. So I will go through the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the lands on which members of the St. John Center of the RASC live and pursue our hobby are situated in the traditional territories of diverse Indigenous groups, and we acknowledge with respect to the diverse histories and cultures of the Beothuk, Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit of this province. So I always mention about membership, the benefits. The meetings are open to everybody, third Wednesday of every month, but the benefits, if you join, are access to RASC and I'll talk. It's a very good forum for shared observations and discussion. We have free planetarium shows, including one coming up next week, and low-cost equipment rentals. And so I'll just point that out. A few announcements. The science fair was last 2 Fridays ago, I guess, and Doug, Robert, and me judged, and we did award a prize for a project about perception in astronomical images. It was quite an original project, and Doug presented that award at the award ceremony on Saturday. Thursday, March 26th, 7:30 at the Marine Institute. Gary's going to be presenting a planetarium show about going back to the moon, which I guess is about Artemis. And so thank you, Gary. So you go to the planetarium, go up the stairs, and there's a deep sea diver just waiting there for you, and you go past him, and that's where it is, right? Somewhere around there. The meeting next month, April 15th, we're still looking for a speaker or ideas or someone to volunteer. We'll see what comes up. But one thing I want to point out is that that is exam week, and this room is being used for marking, and it may or may not be being used that evening, and I probably won't know until that afternoon whether the exam is being written the day before. I won't know whether they will tolerate us in here or not. I've talked to some of the instructors, but there's actually 4 courses being marked that day. But it's not a problem. We'll still meet here if we can't get into the room. My experience is that people say, yes, I'm going to mark at night, but then they don't actually show up and mark at night. But if they are, and there's a lot of them, then we'll just be going that way to the end of the hall, and then that way to the end of the hall. And there's a nice room right there, which is actually nicer than this room. It's got much nicer seats. And Randy and I were just looking at it, and it may be something we want to think about in the future, just to be our room. So, and I do have a key for that as well. So watch for that, but even if you don't see an announcement, if something happens, we'll just put the sign at the intersection out here, and it'll point you in the right direction, and everything will be okay. So don't panic. The RASC General Assembly is coming up May 2nd and 3rd. I guess we'll get an opportunity to register for that pretty soon. I've mentioned this a few times. The Terra Nova Dark Sky Festival is going to be August 13th to 16th, and the park is planning to expand it a little bit. It's no longer just a celebration. Now it's a festival. And a number of people have already said that they are interested. There will be roofed accommodation available for a very limited amount. I don't know whether some of the other participants will be needing that as well, but if you think you might be interested but haven't gotten in touch yet, please do so. Yeah,
Oh, we will be out there for that weekend, but we won't get out there for Friday.
No, that's fine. Yeah, you don't have to be there on Thursday. That may be astronomy on tap or one of those kinds of events. So that's
we got our vacation already booked for earlier on, so I don't have a couple days.
okay. No, but that's still perfect. Thanks a lot. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you there. So the Astro-Imaging contest, we're getting down to the last a week and a half, I guess. The deadline is the 31st. Images have to be from the last year. We've got 4 categories. I've already got a number of submissions. I'll point out that this is up on the center website as well. There's information we'd like you send it to photos@stjohnsrasc.ca. After the deadline, we'll put together a website the way we did last year, and then open up voting with Google Forms. And we may be having, we are going to have a category for best submission from a first-time entrant. So that's something to keep in mind. And so far, we have contributions for awards from Hibernia Management and Development Corporation, Ontario Telescope, Astronomy Plus, and David Astro. So Jim Johnson has been very busy tracking down awards. Okay, and now I'd like to introduce Steve Pellerin. So let's see, I'm going to move your face over. This is always the tricky part with Zoom. So I'm going to make okay, so when you start talking, hopefully you will. There we are. Okay, so let's sort of slide this. There we are. Okay, so you may remember in the fall, Peter Jedicke from the London Center joined us. Yeah, well, when Stephen starts talking, you'll see him. Is there a way for me to just say that he's the boss? I think it has to be when he starts speaking. But Peter Jedicke joined us, and he was showing us pictures from the Windsor Center's 80th anniversary celebration. So, Stephen, congratulations, belated on your anniversary. And then I guess Stephen and Peter came up with an idea, and I'll let Stephen speak about that now. So go ahead, and you see a picture here, and you'll find out what that's about in a second, I hope. So go ahead, Stephen.
All right. Hello. Welcome. Well, thank you. Thank you for the welcome, and congratulations to all of you folks for your 60 years. I guess it was January that was your official anniversary.
Yeah, that's right.
I just wanted to wish all you folks happy anniversary as well. And yeah, I hope you have a great year, and it looks like you folks are very busy. I don't know how many members you have. I think it's somewhere between 60 and 70. Is that correct?
About 63.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, I'm sure you guys are always busy. We are here as well. We have about 102 members right now in the Windsor Center. It kind of goes up and down as the year goes on with our rolling membership, but we have about, I would say, 35 to 40 members who are very active, which is great because it allows us to spread the load around and get more things done. I don't know if you've had a chance to visit online. We do have a website, rascwindsor.com. We also have an observatory, which we built out back in 2000, about 20-minute drive out of town. Of course, where we live, being right across the river from Detroit with a metropolitan population of about 2 million people, if you include all the surrounding communities, we have a real problem with light pollution. Windsor, our city of Windsor, has about 250,000 people in it, and with the surrounding communities, we're closer to 500,000 by the time you bring them all together. And they're spread out. Some of these communities are spread out across Essex County, which is the southernmost part of Ontario. So we're surrounded by water. We have Lake Erie to the south of us, Lake St. Clair to the north of us, and they're connected by the Detroit River. So we have some issues in the summertime with humidity and seeing conditions because of that, but we make do. We do have a couple of different observing sites that we go to get. We have to drive probably about, well, out at our observatory, the skies are okay. They certainly aren't like what you see behind me here. You have to drive a good 2 hours to get to a place that's really dark. So yeah, we have our challenges, but we have a lot of people down here who are very interested and a lot of members who are very committed. And so we have our meetings once a month, like you guys. We just had our meeting last night. We meet every third Tuesday of the month. And we also are starting up now this year a new meeting that we're going to be holding each month, the second meeting. And this is more geared towards beginners and young people who may not have a lot of background. We've noticed that some of them have attended meetings and then maybe not come back right away because they felt a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of jargon and knowledge that people had. So we wanted to provide them with an opportunity to kind of learn some of the basics. So we're starting next month. Every month we're going to be holding meetings for our beginners, kind of related to the NOVA program that National has been offering to the centers. So anyway, I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what happened and what you see here on the screen, this coaster that you see. So when we were in the planning stages for our 80th anniversary last year, our council thought, well, we would like to have some kind of a souvenir or something for our members to kind of remember our 80th anniversary at our banquet. And we were thinking, you know, what could we provide to our members that wouldn't be too expensive to produce, but would be something unique and something memorable. And we came up with the idea of creating a coaster, a drink coaster made out of wood that was engraved with our symbol on it, and that had information about, 80 years of being a center. And so we came up with a design, and one of our members has a nice workshop where he had a laser engraver, kind of a CNC laser engraver, and he was able to work on the design. We actually did this in a very short period of time. We couldn't settle on a design for a couple of weeks, and then time was passing and we had to get it done. So we got the coasters made in about 3 days before the banquet, and everybody loved them. And so Peter, of course, we had David Levy as our keynote speaker at our banquet. It was really nice because we had members from the Sarnia Center who attended, and also from the London Center. And we've had connections with those two centers because they are the closest to us. We've done some things like for the solar eclipse back in 2024. We did some things with the Sarnia Center, providing public outreach, observing sites at various places in the path of totality. So we've been starting to get more involved with local centers and trying to do things. We have a bit of a history with the London Center over the last 30 years or so, where we've exchanged speakers, and we've tried to hold astronomy star parties out in the rural areas between us. Off and on, we've done that. And we just thought, when I was talking to Peter afterwards, Peter Yedicke said what a great idea he thought it was to have these souvenirs for our members. And it's a great way to kind of celebrate and remember the history of the center and what a great night we had. And he said, more centers should be doing things like this. And in talking with Peter, we kind of drummed around the idea of, hey, couldn't we do something to try and encourage centers across Canada to make more of a connection with one another? I know it's hard to do. It's better with Zoom technology to be able to do that. Unfortunately, our current meeting site does not have very good Wi-Fi. So we've tried doing hybrid meetings, and it's just been a nightmare. So until we move to a new location, we're still bugging the city of Windsor, who owns the building that we're holding our meetings in. we're asking them to upgrade their Wi-Fi so that we can make better use of Zoom and hold hybrid meetings. But for now, it's just in-person meetings. So anyway, we decided that we knew that your anniversary was coming up, and we thought we'd like to reach out to you guys and offer you congratulations and do something to kind of show that, you know, you've got some support all the way across half of Canada. And we think about you guys, and I know you guys are doing great work. I've looked at your website. So I just wanted to come by and visit you at this meeting. Thanks for the invitation, by the way, Mike. It's great. I'm looking forward to all the talks tonight. And I just wanted to let the members know that we've provided one of these coasters for each of you for your center as a congratulations from the Windsor Center and also from the London Center as well.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Stephen. And so there is a tub up here at the front, and afterwards they're in alphabetical order. There's an envelope for everybody. We'll mail them out to the people who are not in town. If you are in town but not at the meeting, you can contact Randy and set up a time when you can come and pick it up from him. And there's also a nice letter from Stephen in here about the coaster and about what he just said. So thank you again, Stephen, and we'll keep going. And I'm gonna slide this window back onto this screen, and we're now going to have our 3 member talks. So we're going to start with Jim, Stacey, and then Randy and Kim. And there is some water there if you need it. So there you are. I'll get out of the way and let you go. Sure.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you, everyone. I hope that I'm able to demonstrate a compulsion, an obsession, a passion for old legacy lenses. And so this is a talk, is sort of a tribute to these old camera lenses that I've used over the years and adapted for terrestrial photography. But in the last 5 to 10 years, I've been doing more astrophotography with certain types of lenses. So here is 3 setups, and these are based on Canon lenses. And my talk today is going to be introducing the darker side of camera lenses, and that's the Nikon side. And this is I have most of my experience with astrophotography with camera lenses is with Canon lenses, and these are 3 examples. And I just wanted to give a special thank you to the person who is an enabler of my obsessions, David Karuk, who's in the audience today. Anyway, 2 of these, on the far left, we have an FD 300 millimeter lens. This is a lens I would consider a wide-angle lens for astrophotography. And on the far right, there's an FD 800 millimeter f5.6 lens, which is a real beast. It's got an aperture of 134 millimeters. And then the center is my pride and joy. That's the 500 millimeter FD 500 Canon lens. That's what I do most of my astrophotography with. So the problem that I have is always to do with how do you actually adapt a camera lens to do astrophotography. So you treat it like a telescope, and these I think you can agree that these 3 systems, as you see here, look like astronomy telescope outfits. So I just wanted to say that camera lenses are, in a sense, like a telescope, but they have properties that are very, very important for serious science as well. And I just wanted to put a shout out for the Dragonfly array, the University of Toronto and Yale University. Prototype. This is a from their website. They're using Canon lenses to do serious astrophotography and serious astronomy. Looking for ultra diffuse galaxies, for example, that are circling our galaxy and or perhaps circling other galaxies. Like on the right there, you see some of their photography. So those of us who do astrophotography or AP will recognize that field of view of M101. That particular galaxy, that field of view is characteristic of a 400 millimeter Canon f2.8 lens. And so now this is the prototype. This is the first 3 lenses. Now Canon has donated about 120 of these lenses to a vastly more ambitious array. So I'm not going to talk too much about that, but I think you'll recognize some of the bootstrapping that I'll talk about today about adapting a telephoto lens for astronomy. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the rules of thumb of optics so that you understand why these camera lenses are useful for astronomy. The first thing is that their focal lengths basically define the field of view. So the longer the focal length, the smaller the field of view. So, so when I have a short lens, like a 300 millimeter, I'm getting fields of view like 5 degrees by 3 degrees, for example. In terms of aperture, small aperture, it's basically related. The aperture is related to what's the achievable resolution of your optic. So, for example, the larger the aperture, the smaller the details that you can resolve. So the resolution improves with increasing aperture. So this is what gives rise to the aperture fever. And so for someone like myself, I'm not totally satisfied with a small aperture telescope. I'm looking for bigger and bigger aperture for both reach and also for detail. So, but the difference between a camera and a telescope, a camera lens and a telescope, is that there are multiple apertures that are in a camera lens. So, for example, in the lens, you not only have the aperture of the front element, the objective lens, you also have the aperture of the iris or diaphragm through which you can stop down the lens, and that actually has an effect of improving the sharpness of the image, but also retaining the resolution of your optic. So, and the final thing for astrophotography is the focal ratio. The focal ratio is basically defines your exposure times. So there are constraints on your exposure times, and one particular constraint is the well depth of the sensor that you're using. That defines how many photons you can count. But most of the time, we're looking for when I'm looking at a camera lens, I'm looking for a focal ratio that allows me to gain a little bit of an extra stop or two or more of light gathering power. So that is the sort of the optics behind what I'm doing. So there's a comparison of telescopes. Right? When I'm talking about telescopes in general, I'm talking about refractor telescopes, and the telephoto lens is a stand-in for a refractor telescope. So I'm looking at the trade-offs between the telephoto lens and the telescope. Now, what's good about a telescope, of course, is that they're designed for infinity focus. So that's the primary strength of a telescope. It's that it's designed to focus to infinity. Now, the problem with a telephoto lens is that it's a compromise. Focusing to infinity is part of the range that it wants to that the user in a terrestrial environment would want to focus that lens. So the range over which a lens focuses is much greater than the range over which a telescope is focused. One of the bad things about refractor telescopes is that they're expensive, and particularly the Rolls Royce of the refractor world, the apochromatic lenses that are free of chromatic aberration. The getting away from these chromatic aberration is a very expensive business. So personally, I can't really afford the range of telescopes that would satisfy me from a point of view of astrophotography, because they're just too expensive. On the telephoto lens side, one of the good aspects of it is the absolutely superb mechanical and optical engineering that goes into them. The lenses that are the flagship lenses from Canon and Nikon are the absolutely best optical instruments that these companies can provide. So and they're relatively inexpensive if you're willing to use manual focus lenses from the 1980s and the 1990s. So there's a trade-off there, because there's been so much lens technology since the 1980s and the 1990s, but I'm finding that these old lenses can be more easily adapted to astrophotography than the new lenses. But there's a bad part of these lenses, and there's generally a difficulty in adapting what I would call the astrophotography equipment that I need to adapt to these lenses because of something called back focus. And it is basically the distance between the lens flange and the camera sensor itself. And now I'll talk a little bit more about that. So there's a bit of quantum mechanics I wanted to throw in here for interest. I'm a physicist, and I have this interest in when I look through a telescope, or when I image with the telescope, I'm taken by the fact that the optics of today is quantum mechanical. It's based on quantum mechanics more so than the optics of Galileo's time. In Galileo's time, when they were looking through an optic with their eye, I mean, they're looking at the wave nature of light. But now with these quantum sensors and these digital cameras, we're seeing the quantum nature of light. And when I think about the quantum nature of light, there's the property of photons inside the lens, which are coming to the fore. And these are the things that I have to deal with. And there's just a few things I just want to draw to your attention to, is that whenever there's a photon comes into a lens, or a camera lens, the photon sees everything inside the lens. It sees every flaw, it sees every feature, it sees everything in its line of flight from the objective lens right to the sensor. And another thing is that in any particular time, there's really only one photon in the optical assembly at any given time. So it is a real demonstration of the quantum mechanics of light that I find very fascinating, and trying to understand that is one of my passions, why I'm so interested in these devices. Now, I've been talking about Canon lenses and how great they are. So now I'm thinking I have a new Nikon lens that I've introduced into this stable of lenses that I work with. Now, with cameras and lenses, you date your cameras, but you marry your lenses. It's the lenses that have the life. They're the lenses are the most valuable part of your optical system. Now, what's interesting about DSLR lenses, the lenses that were used for film in the film era, is that you can adapt these to these new modern cameras like Astro cameras and mirrorless cameras. So I wanted to basically take advantage of a particularly unique lens that I came across and I started doing some research on, and I found was used in particular by some astrophotographers for award-winning astro images. Now, this particular lens is the Nikon, and I'm going to go through the name of it, and as you see in this particular slide. It's the Nikkor, which I believe is their brand of high-end lenses. AIS is just some sort of specification of the type of lens, and there's two versions of it. One of this is the old version, and then there's a new version. IF stands for internal focus. ED is the specialized elements, optical elements that make that lens more freer of chromatic aberration. And then this particular lens is a 600 millimeter f4 lens. Now they call these super telephotos, but what I'd like to point out to you is if you look at it, you have a triplet objective, which is basically a telescope. That's a triplet telescope. It has the internal focusing elements, which is basically a new feature, but this is a feature that's now being introduced in our typical telescopes. And then there's something called a field flattener, which is basically what was basically a device to basically allow, originally for this lens, to basically flatten the field so that it would be evenly distributed across, the light would be evenly distributed across a film plane. But for sensors, it's the same problem. Now, I want to draw your attention to a filter drawer at the end, and there's a filter at the very front of the end lens. These are neutral elements, and they don't have any optical properties. However, for multi-narrowband imaging, astronomical image filters are very important, and so I have to find a way of inserting an astronomical filter into this image plane. And that particular, for this particular lens, that particular filter drawer is incompatible. So I have to solve that problem. Now, to give a sense of the optics, this is just a flat field, just an ordinary light through the light at f5.6, and this just shows that there's no real major flaws to the optic. And there's a checklist of the sort. This is just a list of the things I have to do. But instead of going through this, what I'm going to do is just show you a lot of pictures that show all the different things I had to do to adapt this lens for astrophotography. So I started with receiving the lens from Japan. On the left, that's how it looked like when I opened up the box. And on the right, you see the lens itself. Now, this is a monster piece of glass. And I just laughed when Randy gives his talk. This is the case that I'm working with. He will show you the case that he's working. So I'm just going to leave it. So you take the lens out of the box and you start looking at it. And this is on the left. You can see all of the serial number and the specification of the lens. I can track the serial number back to a year when it was manufactured. This particular lens was manufactured in the 1990s, in the late 90s. And so, and on the right-hand side, you can see my first attempt to mate a astrophotography camera to that lens. So there's an adapter in the middle that and there's something called a back focus budget, which I mentioned earlier. And you can see this 20 millimeters here between the lens and the camera that I'm trying to do astrophotography with. That's the sum total of my back focus budget. So that's where I have to put all my astronomy equipment. I have only 20 millimeters to work with. So 2.5 millimeters of that is taken up with an adapter, which I got from China, which basically allows me to start the process of mating that particular camera to this lens. So now, once I've got the camera attached to the lens, I've got to somehow adapt it to an astronomy mount, so people will recognize the dovetail. And I was quite proud of finding at the local hardware store some of these standoffs, separators to allow me to adapt that lens, to basically support that lens. So there's the support for that lens. And then I have to adapt all the equipment that I have to attach to that particular optic. And I start doing that by, as you can see to the far right, you can see the computer, the guide scope, all the wires and so on and things. And so these are the details I have to do. I have to basically find a way to attach guide scopes and to the computer, and I attach the computer to the optical tube assembly. And in particular on the right, I have to find a way to introduce something called electronic autofocusing. So I need to be able to focus this through the computer. So here's the final result. Here's a picture. This is first light on 20th February. This is last month. That was one of the few killer nights we were able to get. And this is what this telescope looks like, or I should say this Nikon lens looks like, and in its hopeful imaging environment. And this is the only picture that I've been able to take with this particular lens. So this is my first light photograph from this. This was M81 and M82. M82 being the exploding galaxy. Now, my objective with this imaging system is to actually do something called narrowband imaging. So I've just got one or two more slides here. I just wanted to talk about narrow multiband imaging. So the goal is with this particular optic is to introduce narrowband filters and with one-shot color cameras. So I've chosen a particular strategy, and this particular slide shows a number of different options, but the one that I've chosen to go ahead with is to buy two narrow multiband filters, an HA03 filter and a sulfur 03 dual band filters. And I haven't used them yet. I haven't solved the problems of inserting these into the optical path as yet. But these are the modifications that I've made since you saw that first light photograph. One of the mistakes that I made was purchasing an electronic focus wheel, which has the exact back focus requirements I have, but it's incompatible with my camera. So anyway, so that was the biggest gotcha from all this. But since then, I've also been looking at further modifications to make this optic more suitable for astrophotography. Now it's a process. There's a list of these. I won't go through them, but it's an optimization process. Start with an optic that does almost what you want it to do, but it's not doing exactly what you want it to do. And as you work with the optic, you have to improve this, they've got to improve that, and there's a number of different things. And I'll probably talk a little bit more about that in some at a future date when I get some more experience with this. So my conclusion is purchasing and adapting a super telephoto for astrophotography is not for the faint of heart. I hope you get that impression from all the things that I've been struggling with. And in our next talk, I think you'll find that things have moved on since the 1980s and 1990s. Anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Yes. Tell them what it is. It's a mug. It's a 6 feet down. This one's. I didn't expect that. Thank you. And Ezekiel gave a talk in a long time ago. we didn't have. So somebody take a picture of me giving this to Ezekiel. Somebody grab a camera and take a picture. Okay. Congratulations. There's your mug. Randy's gonna get a picture too. Zoom. Perfect, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ezekiel. But now I think Randy's up next.
If I were in my backyard now. I'd be observing. That's how quick it is. But I can't show this. Anyhow, how come this is backwards? Hello, everyone. I think this is my third update for the Seestar family. That's the newest member there.
Just use your the wheel to scroll. There.
Okay, so previously I showed the first of the family, the Seestar S50, and the 50 is a 50 millimeter. And I ordered that in April of 2023. It was originally scheduled for June delivery, but got pushed back a bit, and it actually arrived on the 22nd of September, about 5 hours before I observed the moon night. And I had it charged up and up on Signal Hill and using it 6 hours later. And I even had it hooked up to a TV monitor. And one of the things we were doing was people were looking through a Dobsonian at, say, Andromeda. Then they'd come over and see a stacked image on my screen as well. And some kids wanted to get a picture of it. So they'd sit down next to the TV screen and their dad would take a picture of them next to it. All right. This thing happened a couple of months later. I was interested to see how it would actually track. We had quite a bit of cloud that day, but it was magnificent. It tracked. These are actually screenshots from my phone. I said, I want to see it just in case it didn't save anything. So these are just screenshots from my phone. And you've all seen these before. These are my typical Seestar. And you can see on the bottom, like the comets are really great in this thing. 3 minutes for a comet. And different people are doing different things with their Seestars. I think there's half a dozen of them in town now at the moment. And people are doing overpasses of the ISS on the moon and the sun and all these sorts of things. I showed one here where Mars had a close path to the moon not long ago. And we had a very smoky summer. So I sort of cheated a bit and took a picture of the smoky moon. That was the strawberry full moon. So that was a bit of a cheating. But certainly in terms of the Seestar has a digital zoom of 2 and 4 times and is a very, very nice image, even at 4 times on the moon. And you can do lots of moon studies with it. As Gary was pointing out last meeting, some of these craters. So there's the family, the original S50. Take these prices with a grain of salt. They vary with sales, and now they're probably going to double anytime soon with tariffs and gas and everything else. So originally the S50 came out, then they brought out an S30, and then they improved the S30, made it an S30 Pro. And there's the difference in the 50 and the Pro. They put a Sony IMX 585 camera chip in it. So that's a 4K. It also has a secondary wide field camera, which is the 586. And I think you can see that the Teleview 4.6. Okay, so the wide is only a 3.4 millimeter, but it's an f1.75. And one of the things they use that for is that a picture of it comes up in the side on your app, and you can actually move the scope to match the image. It's great for manually focusing. This thing has a quad apochromatic lens. Well, one of them's an ED glass, 30 millimeters. So all the rest of the stuff you can has its own built-in power supply that will last 5 or 6 hours, whatever. There's a great stock in 3D printed things these days for I guess batting off masks, star wheels. It actually comes with a magnetic solar filter, and there's a great market in 3D printed options for all these scopes now. If you have one yourself, you can do that. Anywho, let's get through this. That's currently, as you see it, in Altaz mode. Field of view comparison. One of the things that the S50 wasn't good at was large images like M31, for example. You couldn't get all of it into one field. They've since brought out software options for that called mosaic mode, and will actually take shots to give you the full field of whatever you want. Whereas the S30 will get almost all of M31 in the field. So you don't need to do, because mosaics take at least 3 times as long imaging than normal. So the first panel on the left shows you what the typical, a lot of these scopes have trouble finding the sun and the moon. So it really helps if you can drag where you're looking. This is what it is actually pointed, and then move the scope over to match it. So rather than use the filter that comes with it, I use ND 100,000 filters for my stuff. That's a 4K optical or digital zoom that matches the native size of the S50. So if you're doing for eclipses, for example, a 2x zoom would be a really nice size sun. So the M42, that's straight out of the camera, no editing, 105 minutes. Altaz mode, like I said, I could be imaging that now. Anywho, so that's what I've been doing. If only we had some clear weather. So equatorial mode allows you then to have longer exposures, easier tracking, and but you need then to invest in either a tripod or some kind of fluid head so you can raise your mount. I bought this mount so I could actually put it down flat, and it's got fine sensor controls for both the latitude and direction north. I'm really amazed at the equatorial mode setup in the Seestar. It's beautiful. As soon as you set equatorial mode, it tells you how much you got to lift up and how much to go over, and you only have to be within a degree. Bang, you're in business. One thing with the Altaz mode, as you can see whatever part of the sky you want to see, you can see. If you're going to go equatorial, you've got to be able to see north and then what you want to see. This time of year, the only view I have north is in my backyard, and I had to do several hours of shoveling the other day just to get out to see north, but then I can't see Orion or anything south because it's blocked by the house. So maybe we get out to Butterpot in summer, some of that will get over. Depending then how rigid your mount is, how much you're out of the wind, you can take, I don't know that I'd be able to get 60-second shots, but certainly I've tried 20. These Seestar S50 is limited to 10-second shots in Altez. So again, this is how you set up EQ mode. Just go up and tell the switch, and it tells you what your latitude is now and what you should be. And again, you just follow it and tells you where to move it, how high up. Just adjust it. As soon as it likes it, bang, you're away to the races. So the only shot I did recently was I did a 21 minutes of 20 seconds of 405. And that's only just starting to appear. I wanted to make sure that the tracking was good. That is quite high up in the sky anyways. It was like north, it'll be up there. And I was shooting over a neighbor's house. So our recent software updates, they've got video stacking now. Some of you people are into taking movies of the moon and Jupiter and stuff and then stacking them. This thing can do it natively in the app now. So you can do, if you do raw mode videos in the moon, the planets. Now none of these scopes are really meant for planetary. You can barely see Jupiter, for example, in the S50, and the S30 Pro is very small. So mosaic stitching, as I mentioned. They've now made it available so that you can mount this in a foreign place and control it from your home with some of the remote control functions, guest mode, and what they call RTSP, station mode now. Guest mode, for example, allows you to, if you're out at an event, set it to guest mode. As long as you get to be the first one to attach to it, you can control it. Other people then can connect to it in guest mode, and they can see what you're seeing on their phones and take their own screenshots. They've now opened it up to other protocols. You can use Nina and these other things with it using the ASCOM protocols. They've added the secondary camera now allows a Milky Way time shot and 8K star trails. So you just push a button and you can watch the Milky Way rising. That's, you know, you can freeze the ground, all these other sort of software options for that. They've added what they call a planning mode. So I think Kim is going to mention that she sets hers up and then goes to bed. Well, you can do the same thing here. You can say, I want to see M31 from 6 to 8, then M42 from 10 to midnight to 2, and just execute, and it'll do everything. Just go over, start the imaging. People have been digging through the source code of the app and stuff, and they've discovered that there is embedded code for an S50 Pro. Whether or not they ever bring it out, we don't know. But basically what they're hinting at doing is putting the same cameras in the S50. That's a dual camera, the IMX 585 and 586. And that gives you 4K resolution instead of 2. All the other stuff remains the same. And there's talk, they haven't decided, I guess, whether they want an S70, 80, or 90. You'd have to see, well, what is it you want? A bigger lens. You want to see planets? Well, even at 90 millimeter without an eyepiece, you're not going to do a whole lot of Jupiter studies, I don't think, but we'll see. Hey, maybe they'll put in. All these things come with their own filter wheels, light pollution, UV cutoff, and it'd be nice if they could put a Barlow in there. But I don't think that's coming. So basically, that's the rundown of as the Seestar family is today. Any questions? I think Gary's got one.
Thanks, Randy. So I'm going to stop sharing now and
And hopefully this works.
okay, let's see. Okay, so I've stopped sharing. So Kim, you can share.
Got it?
Okay, so let's see if,
Can you see it?
yeah,
Okay. All righty.
okay, people can see that?
Perfect. All right. So, for Monty Python fans there, and now for something completely different. Mike asked me to try to give you a little talk about how I got into astrophotography or astroimaging. And I'm only 6 months in. It's September 30th last year is when I actually joined the RASC, and I only picked up the Smart Scope, the Dwarf, in December. So it's early days, so it's kind of hard to describe how you transition into something like this without kind of giving you a bit of background. So I figure pictures are as good as any, as opposed to talking. So I'll walk you through some photos. Hang on now. It's not advancing. There it is. So surf photography is not for everyone, but I did get to spend a lot of time outside. A lot of people may not know that Newfoundland has a lot of world-class waves. We get a lot of hurricanes and tropical storms, and under the right conditions, you can get some pretty interesting wave sets set up. And like astrophotography, you're always monitoring the weather for the right kind of conditions that you're looking for to get out and shoot. And it's something you can do year-round, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to find scenes that I think are compelling. And the whole idea is to tell a story. It's not just about having somebody ride a wave. It's the story behind it. And that's what I try to capture. I've tried to capture. And I figure, like astroimaging in its simplest form, you're trying to frame up something far away to give it context and scale. And you've got to have a technical knowledge of how waves set up, where they're located, and how you want to place yourself to capture an image. And again, like astro-imaging, there's often you get challenging lake conditions. A lot of the best waves happen just after sunset, and so you have to make the best of it and make the best image you can given the situation that you're presented with. And in the meantime, you do get to see some really amazing sunsets, and occasionally you could try your hand at moon rises when you're waiting for waves to show up. And sunsets when you're traveling. We spent some time going to Costa Rica. My husband learned to surf in mid-50s, and so we did a few surf holidays as well. And then that one scene that you're looking for, which is a wave, a surfer, and a rising moon. And that was the scene that I'd been looking to capture for quite a while, and I was fortunate in 2018, January 1st, to capture this image, which ended up becoming part of a 50-panel exhibit showcasing Canada's oceans at the Montreal Biosphere, which I was pretty proud. What I couldn't say was I couldn't tell anybody about it because surfing in Newfoundland was a subculture. Nobody talked about it. Nobody posted. So all of these pictures actually are probably being seen for the first time at this meeting because I've never been able to share them. So, and then you again start to I started to hone my skills for capturing images with a high dynamic range. And a lot of it is you capture an image, but it's the processing after that helps to bring out take a 2D image to a 3D kind of feel. And over time, you learn to capture those kinds of images where you want to tell a story. And my fixation had become on sunsets and moonrises because waves don't happen all the time. And we moved to the West Coast, and there's not as much surf out here, and things changed. And so I needed to come up with a new hobby. And so staying at the Sheraton a lot, and I usually get a room looking over Signal Hill, I started bringing my camera with me and started capturing full moons and full moon risings. And while surf photography is very limiting in terms of you need an ocean, astroimaging is not so limiting. And then so my new fixation became capturing full moons and telling stories with them and looking for really unique locations to photograph them. And that's Baccalieu Island. And we all recognize that. And so I've just, over time, I feel that some of the skills that I've picked up are transferable to astroimaging, and specifically around turning noisy, underexposed images into something that's presentable. And it's not exactly the International Space Station, but it's close, in my view. And then I started tracking astronomical events. So I got a couple of lunar eclipses, and then I got the solar eclipse, and that kind of nailed it for me. Now I was hooked. So last year I picked up some books, joined the Astronomical Society. Then I started taking my camera, and Mike still can't get over that I can handhold a Jupiter shot. But I guess you develop skills over time. And I found it was a steep learning curve, but what I used was taking my wide angle lenses and just pointing it at the sky in my back garden. And then I'd plug the pictures into astronomy.net. And then from there, I got I'll call them my anchors, things that now when I look up in the sky, I recognize. And so it became I guess the whole thing became doable for me. So I picked up a simple little device, the Dwarf, and looking at Jim Stacey's setups, I'm glad I did, because everything I read told me to steer clear of all of that complicated stuff and just go with something simple. And so I got the Dwarf, and like Randy said, we haven't had a lot of clear skies since December, so I haven't had a lot of chance to use it. But these are just some screenshots of what I see. And I've been mostly just focusing on moons and suns because that's all I've been able to play with. But I did get a chance to, well, these are some images that are, the one on the right there is straight out of the Dwarf. And the other one is the sun that I turned into black and white. The image quality is decent, but I don't think it's anywhere near what I think the Seestar S30 is capable of pulling off. And again, just a couple of screenshots. There's an in-app mega stack. I used that once, but I haven't had a lot of images that I can actually process. Stellar Studio. You could have an auto function, a star correction, a denoise. You can do star removal. And this is an image of the Rosette Nebula straight out, which I found unremarkable, but I'm also probably operating in less than ideal light conditions and a lot of clouds. So I get a lot of failed frames when I look at the data. And so that's my processing of an image that I captured. And like I said, I haven't figured out what drizzling, dithering, and stretching means, but I'll figure it out eventually. So early impressions on the Dwarf is I find connecting really annoying. I find it inconsistent and at times frustrating. And I don't know if it's me because I haven't had a lot of practice, or it's my Wi-Fi, or it's the device. I'm sure over time I'll figure that out. I also find it slow to respond, and maybe it's because I'm impatient. I don't know. Could be, but I do find it slow. I'm still struggling with file management and finding an intuitive workflow. My brain is stuck on photography workflow, and I haven't kind of figured out the Astro-Imaging workflow, and it is different. I expect Photoshop and Lightroom will always be one of my go-to tools for final post-processing. And again, I've only been able to use the device a couple of times under less than ideal conditions, and there's no way I can get an equatorial setup like Randy mentioned. I don't have a north-south view, so I'm hoping that you know, during the summer when the sky's clear and I can get out of the mountains, because in Corner Brook you're basically down in a hole. That I'm looking forward to really seeing what the dwarf can do for me. And that's it.
Oh, there's some comments. There's a lot of comments. Yes. Wow, need some of those images for the 2027 calendar, Kim. Yeah, those, I think we all agree, those moon images, the moon shots with the landscape were just amazing.
Thank you.
That's some of the most beautiful landscape shots with the moon I've seen. So thank you very much. And I guess we'll keep going then. So thanks, Kim. Have you stopped sharing?
I think so.
Okay, I will. Now I need to see if I can get things back the way they were. Okay, let's see. Two. Okay, is that working? No? Oh, okay. Oh, maybe I needed to click something else here. Okay, let me try again here. I needed to tell it to go ahead and share. How's that? Okay. So Robert's not here. I will, but he did prepare Sky this month, so I will. That's this one here, and okay. Yeah, so this is on. Will be posted. Maybe already is posted online on the center website. So this usual thing Robert goes through, an image of the sun today, and looks like a little bit of activity, not a lot. We're a new moon. In terms of planets, your best bet right now is Jupiter. Everything else is either very close to sunrise or setting very early. Robert went to inthesky.org. If you haven't looked at this website, it's very nice for planets and all sorts of things. And he picked out this list of events between this meeting and the next meeting. And these are actually links. I can link to them, this will be a Word document that when it's uploaded, you'll probably be able to link if you do Control-click and get information about these. I've just picked out a couple of these. So we've got the equinox coming up. On the 23rd, the moon's going to be close to the Pleiades. Then the first quarter, 25th. Then the moon is close to the Beehive cluster. That's what M44 is. The moon occults Regulus on the 29th. Mercury is as high as it's going to get in the morning sky on the 22nd. So if you're an early riser, that's Mercury's actually can be pretty bright if you catch it at the right time. And Mercury actually shows phases if you're taking pictures. So it's sort of the half Mercury phase on April 3rd, and then the last quarter on the 10th. There are some comets, but they aren't really well placed. And I went and checked on this also in thesky.org, and they say peak magnitude -22 on the 5th of April. And that can't, well, the thing is, it's also right at the sun. So, and if you could see it, maybe it is very bright, but I think that's probably a calculated number. Nobody's going to see that. So, so there are a couple of comets right now, but they aren't spectacular for us. We do have the Lyrids coming up. They're actually just after our next meeting, which will be April 15th. And Robert always lists some picks out from Dave Mitski a list of objects that are nice to look at for with telescopes and binoculars for March and April, and a deep sky challenge, which a few people take up. I'm not sure what Able 30 is, probably a galaxy cluster. And then these are actually some planetarium views from tonight. So this is looking east at 15 minutes from now. So these are the things that are going to be sort of becoming more visible in the sky over the next month, because they're in the east right now. So Leo and Waddies are becoming, and Hercules are starting to come into our sky. Looking south, these are the things that are kind of dominating the sky right now. And so there's Orion. It's actually starting to slide off to the west, and Gemini, Jupiter is in the neighborhood there. And then the things that we're going to be saying goodbye to over the next little while are the things that are already in the western sky, just after sunset, and that includes Orion is getting over there, Auriga's over there, and so this will be posted on the website, and I'd encourage you to have a look at that. Okay, so thanks to Robert for doing that, and let's see, what do I do now? If I close that, and don't panic. Now, am I still sharing this one? Okay. So, feature that I started this year was Crater of the Month, and Gary does most of them. They're rarely craters, so I'll invite Gary up. And today it's going to be Mare Crisium. So Gary's going to tell us all about that. So.
Yes, for all those people who know that the new moon is up in 3 days, you'll be able to observe this beautiful crater right here. This one here, the eye, sometimes called the patch, the pirate patch of the moon. That thing. Marine Crisium, it's beautiful, it's black, it's 3.8 billion years ago it was created. It flooded 2 of the craters there that are 8.24 billion years. We know it's volcanic because I think Lunar 15 or Lunar 17 landed actually in that area and brought back samples, and we've actually gotten the age of this wonderful crater. But this time, I always say, when's the best time to observe? I say day 3, day 4, day 5, just past new moon. And that's why I start. New moon is day 1, and you go from there. So that's what when I say days, because I heard someone ask me last month why I yell out the observing days are these days, and they didn't understand how they work. And the next time to look at it, it's just after full moon. And the image is totally different between the both. While you're looking at this, okay. Here we go. Got some nice one
I
there.
put a label on Pierce.
Okay. Yeah. Probably the easiest three to pick up are Picard, Pierce, and Swift. Okay. Picard is, I think, about 3.2. Yeah, 3.2 billion years ago, just after this was flooded, which was 3.8. It's 23 kilometers wide. And around this time is the best time to look because it has a beautiful crater, but it has a beautiful peak, and you can actually pick it up at that time. Other times like this, it gets washed out. Pierce is the same way, which is about the same size. Actually, I think it's 23, and Swift here is only 10. And then because these two here are flooded, so these two are older than the actual flooding. This is the only marina that is enclosed by itself. The rest are intertwined. So you get the chance to see all of this beautiful mountain ranges and the inside of this. And also, as you go to the further side here, you'll see lots of rifts. And they're about 2 miles high, actually. And that's actually, they were created when the volcano was going through and the lava was going under. So that's a height. It's really interesting. They disappear. You can barely see them here in this picture because I think this one is overhead. But as the angle comes in, you can actually see the height of them quite well. So what do you got to do this weekend when the sky is clear? Pair of binoculars, you can pick this up. With a telescope of 2 inches or more, you can pick up all the rest. But this is the crater I decided to pick out this time and to see, because it's one of the great examples. And have fun.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's always amazing Gary can get up and talk about all this stuff with no notes. If I was gonna go to the moon and walk around, I'd want to walk around with Gary because he would know where he was going. Okay, so remarkably, we've heard lots about the weather. We've been dissing the weather, but we actually did have a couple of clear nights in the last month. So I'm just going to run through some of our member images. I think we might have seen this one. We might have seen some of these in the talks we just heard. So Kim got a nice shot with the Dwarf 3 on February 20th. And that's that sunspot there. Randy, so this was a week later, February 28th. This is with the S30, and this is his ND 100,000 filter, neutral density, and top to bottom. Let's see, so 4378. That's probably 4379 and 4380. There's actually dirt on the screen. It looked like there were like, it's probably because people teach in here with a blackboard marker and they're pointing at the screen and it doesn't matter unless you're trying to pick out sunspots. And then so that now I'm seeing the same thing you're seeing. Another one from Kim. This is this is the same day. So this is an interesting comparison. So this is with the neutral density filter. This is and the S30 Pro. There's with the Dwarf 3. Very nice little label on it too. And then March 6th. So Kim, did you do something different with this one? We were commenting about you were getting a really nice job with the texture here. I guess you did it monochrome. Was that all?
Yes, I basically turned it to black and white, and then so you strip out the color, and then this the texture started to show through with a little bit of tweaking in Lightroom and contrast, basically adding a bit of contrast.
Yeah, that's very nice. I mean, that's starting to be, you don't see prominences, but that's starting to be the kind of surface you see with an H alpha
Yeah.
scope. So that's good. We've got some moon images. I was actually doing an image of Jupiter, so I had a Barlow on, so that's not the right thing to look at the moon with. Sort of the opposite problem that we've got with the smart scope. So this is actually a sort of jury-rigged mosaic, but I got a shot of it because it was just such a neat crescent. And then Randy got, so that was February 20th. So this is a few days later, and this is with the S30 Pro and the 2X mode. There's Chrysium, which we're now all experts on. And so this is the 4x mode. So the natural 2x and 4x. And same night again. So this is, we got dueling smart scopes. So this is Kim, I guess from the other side, from Corner Brook. And again, same view with the Dwarf 3. And then Jim on February 28th. So a few days later, not quite a full moon, but lovely colors in here. And this is with your old Maxitov, 1980s Maxitov, or yeah. So the we haven't seen that lately, not very often, but that's fun. And the Sony camera. And then this one is, I got to clean the screen again. Okay. So there's the moon, and there's Jupiter down there.
Yes.
Okay, so there's Jupiter, and this is Kim's rock steady hands on the DSLR, big lens. And this is again with the Dwarf 3. This is the night of the lunar eclipse, but not staying up late enough for the lunar eclipse, I guess.
No. Clouded over.
Yep. Now let's see. I should have actually launched this one before. I'll see if this works. John, are you online? Okay, so let me. Okay. Watch. Sorry? Okay, I'll do that again. Okay, where do I slow it down? Far right. Ah, okay. Oh. Okay, let's try one more time. Okay, so I think it's, where's it going to go through? Did you see it? There it is. Okay, so John is remarkably patient, and that takes a lot of planning, because how close do you have to be to the right place to get it? John, are you on there? I don't think he's on today. But I mean, you have to be within a few kilometers of the right location, right?
That's a Seestar movie.
Yes. There we are. Okay. Okay, and then we had another Jupiter festival, so we've just got lots of pictures of Jupiter. So this is February 20th, and Tim and Sue, the same. So this was at 6:30, and this was probably a little bit later, but you can see Io just about to come onto the disc. And Jim Johnson, so this is a week later. And this is a Maxitov as well. So one of Jim's stables. And this is his animated GIF. That's from the same night. That's really cool. And still the same night. This is Chris Stevenson's. And so this one is, let's see, to the left. Listo is way down here somewhere. I can't see it. And Io and Europa and Ganymede. Let's see. Yeah, on this screen, I can't pick out Callisto.
Up and then down halfway, then that one. And that one there I can see at all, but the other two are.
Oh, yeah, those two I can see. So that's Europa and Ganymede. That's Io. And when on my screen at home, I could see Callisto down there, but I cannot pick it out on that one. Anyways, and so here again is Jupiter. And there's Ganymede, and you can see that. Oh, there, yeah, there's Callisto there. So this one was 27th, this is the 28th. And you can see that Chris is actually starting to resolve the disk of Ganymede. And we'll see that a little bit later on. So this is, again, Tim Carrick and Sue Hart the same night, February 28th. Then March 2nd at 6 in the evening. So the sky wasn't even quite dark that evening. And then Kim, this is one of Kim's. So this is handheld DSLR with a big lens, and you can actually see the bands on Jupiter, which continues to astound me. And so this is March 5th. And this one was March 6th. I kind of over sharpened that one. And then this is Chris's animated GIF on March 6th. You can see the moon moving as well. That's Io. And then this is just a still from that one.
Still at this night, the jet stream was below St. John's, so way below St. John's. Sharpness is unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay, well, good. That explains why we were having fun. So this is also March 6th, 7:35, and there's Ganymede. And when Chris zooms in on Ganymede, you can actually see a little bit of surface feature. And when he looks at that on Stellarium, that's actually what it should look like. So it looks like that's real. So that's pretty impressive. And then still on March 6th, Tim and Sue. And then we have a few deep sky objects. So Robert actually did the Crescent Nebula back in the summer. That's more a summer object, but he's been working on Cyril. So this was his reprocess of that. So he's reprocessed that a couple times now. So M94 is the Croxi galaxy, and so spiral galaxy. There's some interesting things you'll see in the structure of that. And M109 is very close to the Dipper, the vacuum cleaner galaxy. Chris did that, but only sort of a trial. But Jim, are you online, Jim?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so there's actually two treatments of this. One where the blue actually may be almost the same, but the background is different. So you want to just say a little bit about what's going on here?
I reprocessed the current image that you see on the screen there just because I didn't like the way that the outer bands were uneven, I guess, compared to other images that I've
Okay.
seen online. I'm still not 100% happy with it. I'd like to get more data on it, actually. I think the couple of nights I did that, there was a lot of cloud every now and then that was going through. So that was kind of wreaking havoc with some of the images and that. So
Anyways, they're both pretty impressive. I mean, this one looks a little more dramatic because the blue ring, which is sort of a starburst region, kind of pops a bit more, but it's still there, but not as much contrast. Anyways, that's pretty cool.
I think I might have pushed the saturation on the first one probably a little harder than the second.
Okay. Okay, thanks a lot. And Chris tried the vacuum cleaner Galaxy, and but there were some issues that night for him.
What's it called? Okay, I can see the top and the bottom now. Top is the handle. and the
Yeah,
bottom is-
could be, because it looks like
It's like
something,
an upright-
looks like something Mr. Dyson would do.
Yeah.
So we're getting into the season when you can see the Leo triplet, and Robert got a picture of that. So M65 is a spiral. They're about 35 million light years away, 65, 66, and NGC 3628. This the Hamburger Galaxy, and so that's it there. So this is Robert's shot of the Leo triplet. So that's one that we'll see going through the season. I think this was Gary's. Is that right? Yep. NGC 2903 or 2905. They're the same thing. One is the core of the other. A barred spiral galaxy, again, about 30 million light years away, about 80,000 light years across. The Milky Way is 100,000 light years across, so it's a tad smaller. And there it is with the Seestar S50. Lots of detail in that. And then this one, I think we just saw. This was Jim's first light for the yeah, you called this first light, right? For that Nikon lens. And John Peddle, I don't think he's on. John's project, most of us know, is to basically look at every star there is, or probably every star that's named. But so this one is Samhot, and I saw different ideas about where that name comes from. It's really Alpha Monoceros. You notice it also looks like Thomas written backwards. I don't know. Anyways, 146 light years away, and there it is. So that's part of John's star collection. John last month did the Intergalactic Wanderer. Up here, a little globular cluster associated with our galaxy. So I had to try at that. There it is there, but my focus was off that night. I did try the Seagull Nebula. It's about 3650 light years away. The nomenclature for this is really confusing about which part's the Seagull Nebula and which part's the wings and that. IC 2177 is probably the Seagull's head, and it's a hydrogen region, but it's energized by this star, and this sharpless designation is the wings. So you can just barely see it, but there's the Seagull's head, presumably lit up by that star there. And then a couple here from Jim. These are actually so this next image takes in all of this region. So that's, approaching 5 degrees. So this one is the Jellyfish Nebula, and this one is the Monkey Head Nebula. The jellyfish is a supernova remnant. about 5,000 light years away. The supernova is probably, tens of thousands of years ago. And the Monkey Head is an emission nebula, a little bit further away. And so all of that stuff is in this image. So those two stars, I believe, are those two stars. What's that? Yeah. I think Randy's chirping. So this another amazing picture from Jim. Thank you very much, Jim. And lots of time on this one. Just beautiful. And then we saw some from Kim of the Rosette Nebula and the satellite cluster, which is in the center of the Rosette Nebula. So there's one that we saw in Kim's talk. And there's sort of a shortened session. You can see the cluster. You just barely see the beginning of the nebula. And there's another try a couple days later. And that's the one that we saw that was processed in Photoshop and Lightroom. And Gary also did the Rosette with the satellite cluster in the middle with the Seestar S50. And then who's this one? This one's Gary as well. This is interesting. This is a planetary. So a star like the sun, or up to 8 times the size of the sun, gets old. The outer envelope sort of escapes, leaves behind the core as a white dwarf. And that's a planetary nebula. It's called that, but it's not really got anything to do with planets. This one's interesting because the way we're looking at it and the way that the material escaped the star gives sort of a double lobed structure, but it's all sort of the outer layers of a star that escaped, tens of thousands of years ago. And that's near Gemini. And I did an image of the Flaming Star Nebula which is in Auriga. So there's the double planetary, well, it's a single planetary nebula with what was the core of the star there. And this is with the Seestar S50, and that was my try at the Flaming Nebula. I tried it a few times before, and I've tried it several times after, and that's about the best I've got so far. And M78, I think this one is Jim as well. And that's Casper the Friendly Ghost. That must be a more recent name. It's a reflection nebula. It's a reflection, that's why it's bluish. Not that far away, 1350 light years away. And illuminated by a couple very hot stars. I don't know if I see something that's kind of ghostly. I don't know if I see Casper, but another lovely shot, Jim, and some very, these must be interesting dust lanes or something. And then some images around Orion. Randy did M42, and I think we saw this in Randy's talk. Chris and Tim, I think, have been working on the trapezium in the Orion Nebula. So this is one of Chris's efforts. So this one, and then I think he really worked on the trapezium and some of the other stars near it. So a lot of work to try and get that. And this is him trying some more. This was actually, he was using sort of planetary processing, so doing a video, processing it with planetary imaging pre-processor, and sort of cheating and telling it that it was like little planets. And then this is Tim Carrick and Sue Hart's trapezium there. Again, very nice. It's pretty tricky to pull that out of how bright things are in there. And then I tried the Crab Nebula at one point. There it is. And, oh, no, we still, oh, so NGC, David Coffey did NGC 2403. That's an intermediate spiral galaxy, about 9.5 million light years away. And Jim Johnson did a fairly amazing picture of Polaris and all the dust around Polaris, which is called the Polaris flare. It's not actually right at the same place Polaris is, maybe a little bit closer than the dust, but so there's Polaris and there's that dust region around it. Do you have anything to say about that one, Jim? That's pretty cool too.
I'd like to get more data on it.
Okay.
Maybe another 10 hours or so.
Okay, so that's it. So the next meeting is Wednesday, April 15th. Watch out for the room announcement, but don't worry about it. We'll be either here or just around the corner, just past the stairs. And we probably won't know till we get here. The General Assembly coming up, the Astro-Imaging contest. I think there are probably lots of sorry, when? Oh, in August? Okay, a partial solar eclipse. Okay, so we'll watch for that as well. And so that's it. So thank you all for coming, and thank you to the folks online. We actually have a very good turnout online. Good work. Nice to see everybody there. And thank you to Stephen for joining us. And maybe you can turn yourself back on for a second, Stephen. We'll say thanks again for. So I'm let's see, I'll make it speaker view here. No, that's not the right thing to do. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, thank you again for joining us, Stephen, and thank you for the coasters. And during the meeting, Randy has been scurrying around distributing the little envelopes with coasters, and all the best.
Yes, well, thanks. It was a great meeting. I can't believe the talent that you guys have in your astrophotography group, and just I pretty much assumed that you guys were an active bunch by the things I've seen online, but very impressive, guys. I encourage you to keep going like that. Maybe once we get our hybrid situation set up with our meetings, we might be able to do some sort of a speaker exchange with you then.
Yeah, that's something we'd be quite interested in doing that. So give our regards to your members and to Peter as well. And again, thank you very much for the coasters. That's a very thoughtful gift. And again, congratulations on your 80th.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys have a great night, and good luck with all of your observing endeavors.
Okay, and same to you. All
Take
the
care.
best. Bye. Okay, so to the folks online, I'm going to be shutting down the session in a minute, and the people in the room are going to enjoy the treats that Randy brought in, and the people at home, you can go find some treats and enjoy them too. You're allowed to. Okay, so thanks everybody, and have a good evening, and stay safe.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. Bye.